Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep inside your own body to uncover the secret life of your blood. It's a story that's happening right now, with every single breath you take.
So, have you ever really looked at a bruise and wondered why it changes color? You know, that slow shift from purple to green, then to yellow. Well, that's not just skin deep. It's actually a visual clue, a little window into one of the most incredible recycling programs happening inside of you, right this second.
And to really get it, we're going to follow the life story of one single heroic molecule. We'll see it from its birth, through its vital mission, and all the way to its retirement. And trust me, this journey is going to show you the absolute genius of how your body manages its most precious resources.
All right, let's meet our hero. It's a tiny but incredibly powerful molecule called heme.
Okay, so heme is basically the powerhouse of your bloodstream. It's the critical part of hemoglobin, you know, that protein that's packed inside all your red blood cells. The best way to think about heme is like a tiny, super strong magnet. It snags oxygen from your lungs and then hauls it to every single cell in your body. Oh, and yeah, it's also the exact molecule that makes blood red. Pretty important stuff.
And get this, your body is a relentless factory. I mean, just to keep up with the constant need to replace old red blood cells, it has to crank out between 6 and 7 grams of this stuff, hemoglobin, every single day. That is a truly staggering amount of construction on a microscopic level.
So that begs the question, right? How on earth does your body build this essential, life-giving molecule? All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Well, it's like this beautifully choreographed, multi-stage assembly line. The whole process kicks off inside the mitochondria, you know, the power plants of your cells. Then, some parts get shipped out to the main factory floor, the cytosol, for more work. And for the grand finale, the final components are sent right back into the mitochondria, where that all-important iron atom gets popped into place. But what's really fascinating is how the body manages all this production. See, the two main factories, the liver and the bone marrow, they use completely different quality control systems. The liver, it uses something called negative feedback. Basically, if too much heme starts piling up, it just hits the emergency stop button on production. Smart, right? But the bone marrow is more, let's say, proactive. It won't even start the assembly line unless it knows it has enough iron on hand to actually finish the job. And this makes total sense. The liver is a general-purpose factory, so it has to avoid any toxic buildup. But the bone marrow has one super specific high-demand job: make red blood cells. And that whole task is pretty much pointless without iron. Of course, like any complex factory, things can go wrong. So what happens when this incredibly intricate assembly line breaks down? Well, if a specific enzyme in the pathway is faulty, the whole assembly line just gets jammed. And instead of producing useful heme, the factory starts spitting out these half-finished toxic molecules. When those build up, they cause a group of rare genetic diseases called the porphyrias.
And this is a perfect illustration of how one tiny microscopic fault can have absolutely devastating, wide-ranging effects. I mean, depending on which exact enzyme is broken, the symptoms can be anything from severe stomach pain and psychiatric problems all the way to extreme photosensitivity, where just being in the sunlight causes your skin to blister.
Okay, so let's get back to our hero. After a long, heroic working life, about 120 days, a red blood cell is finally retired. And this is where its heme molecule starts a brand new journey, a really colorful journey of being broken down and recycled. And this is the story your bruise is telling you. Remember that? So when the blood cells under your skin get broken down, the red heme gets converted by an enzyme into a green pigment. It's called biliverdin. That's the greenish color you see after a day or so. But it doesn't stop there. Another enzyme quickly jumps in and turns that green stuff into a yellow-orange pigment called bilirubin. And yep, you guessed it, that's the final yellowish color you see as the bruise fades away. Now this yellow pigment, bilirubin, is normally processed by the liver and then, excreted. But what happens if the liver can't keep up? Well, the bilirubin builds up in the blood. And because it's yellow, it literally stains your skin and the whites of your eyes, leading to a condition we all know as jaundice.
But here's a crucial point. Jaundice isn't one single disease. It's a symptom. The root cause could be what's called hemolytic jaundice, where a massive breakdown of red blood cells just flat out overwhelms a perfectly healthy liver. Or it could be hepatocellular, meaning the liver itself is damaged and can't do its job. And finally, it could be obstructive, which is basically a plumbing problem, like a blocked bile duct that prevents the bilirubin from even leaving the liver.
This is why so many newborn babies got jaundice, right? Their little liver enzymes just aren't fully up to speed yet. And it's taken super seriously because that unprocessed bilirubin can be toxic and even damage a developing brain. But the treatment is, well, it's just remarkably clever. It's called phototherapy. They bathe the baby in a special blue fluorescent light, and this light actually changes the physical shape of the bilirubin molecules. It makes them water-soluble so the baby can get rid of them without needing the liver's help at all. How cool is that?
Okay, but our story of recycling and detox doesn't stop with heme. Your body also has to deal with the waste from breaking down proteins, and that process creates some particularly nasty leftovers.
So when you metabolize amino acids, the building blocks of protein, they produce ammonia. And let me be clear, ammonia is highly toxic. Your body absolutely cannot let this stuff build up. Luckily, it has a brilliant and frankly urgent system to neutralize it. It's called the urea cycle.
This whole cycle happens mostly in the liver, and it is your body's ultimate detox pathway for nitrogen waste. It takes that deadly ammonia, runs it through this really sophisticated chemical loop, and what comes out the other end? Urea, a totally harmless, water-soluble compound that your kidneys can just easily filter out. The efficiency of this cycle is a huge indicator of your liver health and your body's ability to manage protein, making it just a cornerstone of our overall metabolic well-being.
So all these amazing processes we've been talking about, building proteins, recycling them, detoxing the waste, they all feed into one crucial indicator of your overall health. And that indicator is called nitrogen balance. Think of it like a metabolic accounting sheet. It's simple, really. It just compares the amount of nitrogen you take in, mostly from protein in your diet, to the amount you lose, which is mostly in urea. It's a perfect snapshot of whether your body is in a building up phase or a breaking down phase.
And there are really just 3 states you can be in. If you're holding on to more nitrogen than you're getting rid of, you're in a positive balance. This is what you see during periods of growth. Think about childhood, pregnancy, or an athlete building muscle. Now, a healthy adult is usually in a balanced state. Pretty simple. But if you're losing more than you're taking in, you're in a negative balance, and that's usually a sign of trouble. You see this in cases of starvation, serious illness, or major stress, when the body is literally breaking down its own tissues for energy.
So just think about it. From the incredible journey of a single molecule, to the colorful story your bruise tells, to the detox cycles that are constantly keeping you safe, your body is performing trillions of these unbelievably complex reactions every single day. It's the silent, brilliant, and intricate story of what it actually means for you to be alive. Isn't that just phenomenal?